in the history of the sport. Lisa Bluder is going to join us right now. And, Coach, thank you so much for throwing on a headset to join us after what was an incredible roller coaster of emotions, I'm certain. I want to just start at the beginning and work our way to now. You love to play with pace, but you all were unable to really get going. UConn was doing such a great job of turning you all over. How did you all stay patient when you got off to the type of start that you did?
Yeah, that wasn't a very good start for us at all. I thought they did a great job, like you said, in transition defense and getting back and not letting us really get our running, getting going. But I thought, we took better care of the ball in the second half. I think the second half we only had 4 turnovers. So we really did a lot better job composure-wise in the second half. Hannah Stuelke grew up tonight, too, I'd say.
Well, she's where I was going to start, and we understand what Caitlin is a sensation, and everyone gets that, but she can't single-handedly win every single game, and you don't win without Stuelke. That was clearly a point of emphasis, and she responded. I mean, how was she able to answer the call?
I think when Aaliyah got in a little bit of foul trouble, it gave Hannah some confidence that she could take it at her a little bit more. But I'm just so pleased with her. She has really grown up this year. She's only a sophomore. She is really a special player. She usually gets some more transition buckets than we get tonight. But, hey, I'm never going to complain about a win in the semifinal championship.
Heck no.
Or how it got there.
Caitlin was on with me the other night, and she said all she wanted was 40 more minutes. And, Lisa, that's all anyone wants this time of year, right? 40 more minutes, and now that's all anyone can have. And that's what South Carolina has, too. What will be required of you and your team to give them their first loss? I want to let you enjoy this, but I got to ask the question.
That's a juggernaut, isn't it? I mean, honestly, I really don't know at this point. I am going to enjoy this one for at least an hour and a half before we turn the page to South Carolina. Obviously, they're just an amazing basketball team. We're just glad we get to go to practice tomorrow. That's what my team was saying. They wanted to practice tomorrow, and so I'm just glad they get to do that.
I get it, and I apologize. I should give you an hour, but our show's only about an hour. And this is our chance to visit with you. So I'll let you enjoy with your team as you should, and then you guys dig into the tape for what will be a tremendous rematch with South Carolina. Lisa, congratulations on an incredibly hard-fought win.
Thank you very much. We're blessed. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. There's Lisa Bluder, and there's Caitlin Clark sharing a moment with her folks, and that incredibly passionate and voluminous Hawkeye fan base. And now, what does UConn draw up? They're clearly going to run a play, set a screen. Here comes Page. They call Edwards for an illegal screen. That's a really, really tough time with 3.9 on the clock in a 1-point game to make that call. You see Gino's reaction after Iowa is fouled. Caitlin Clark goes to the line, makes one. You don't see her miss too often, but off the miss, Iowa grabs the rebound. They're able to inbound. The clock is exhausted. And Iowa survives. They'll take on South Carolina. Coach Ariema and Caitlin Clark with their congratulations when it's all done. And here's Coach Bluder after she got done with me. They are indeed. We'll show you whoever slaps that name on that next line. That's become a fun tradition in both the men's and women's tournament. You see, the second half is the story as Iowa explodes for 45 after they were held to just 26 in the first half. They didn't turn it over nearly as much. They shot the ball very well in the fourth. They built what appeared to be a comfortable lead, but all the credit in the world to UConn, who fought back to make it a 1-point game. They had the ball, and then the foul's called. And Andraya Carter joins me once again, and I hate, I don't care what sport it is, to start the conversation talking about the officials, but I have to start there because that call and that moment, I'm saying you can't make it. You tell me, Andraya, what do you think?
I agree, SVP. I hated the call. You got to give Gabby Marshall credit for trying to fight over the screen. That's what drew the ref's attention in. But to me, now that final play, it's not about Iowa defense. It's about the call that the referee made. Maybe there was a slight lean. Maybe Aaliyah Edwards' elbow was slightly out. But to be honest, the calls weren't even on both sides. There were missed calls for Iowa. There were missed contacts for UConn. And so to make that call at the very end of the game, to me, just felt like it took away an opportunity for players to make plays, be it UConn or be it Iowa. But again, give Gabby Marshall credit for fighting over the screen. You don't want to see that call made, but there are technicalities to the game that the referees try to hold themselves to. So you have to give Iowa credit, but that call, to be honest, I don't even know if I can say this on TV, but that call sucked, SVP.
Yeah, you could say it, and I agree. Just as a fan, and I defer to you, you've been in the arena, right? You've been in these moments. You can live with the result if it's a result where the player gets the chance to make the play. And I think that's where just now, as speaking just as a fan of the game, you just want to see the opportunity for UConn, who roars back. If the ball's in the air and it doesn't go, it doesn't go. But now you got to go the other way. That's just, as you said, sucks. That's not what you want.
Absolutely. But then listen to this. I believe in basketball gods. So the basketball gods, they give UConn one more opportunity with Caitlin Clark, who is incredible from the free throw line. She misses the second free throw. Again, give Iowa credit for capitalizing on the opportunity. They get the offensive rebound. That would have been UConn's chance. They had a timeout. Again, the call,
that's fair.
We don't love it, but UConn had another chance, and you've got to box out at the free throw line to take that opportunity. They missed that one.
All right, let me get out of my own way and stop complaining about the officiating to give a chance to shine a spotlight on what this game was. I think you saw the absolute heart of a champion in UConn and the fight and the resolve, and you saw the excellence of Iowa as well. That fourth quarter, when Iowa finally started to find rhythm offensively, felt like where they created ultimately the lead that was the difference. In your estimation, what was different? What happened?
Well, you heard Coach Bluder talk about it. They settled in. I mean, give Connecticut so much credit. There are not many players that can chase Caitlin Clark around the way Nika Mule did, especially in that first half. We came out at halftime, and I said, Nika Mule is a bad woman. The defensive angles, the energy that she played to stick with the greatness that is Caitlin Clark, but it's hard to sustain that energy. It's also hard to keep your mind locked in when fouls start to build up. So again, hats off to UConn. It's amazing that they made it this far. But when you talk about staying with Caitlin Clark, who's always running around the floor, Iowa has their depth. UConn only played 6 players. Iowa played 8. Caitlin Clark moves so much. Once fouls start to add up, it's a really, really tough challenge. I mean, if you watch this possession, look at Caitlin Clark. She's right at the free throw line. Nika Mule picks her up. She's chasing her all the way around the court. Still doesn't get the ball. Now they switch. She's got Ashlyn Shade on her. Again, she's moved the entire possession, and what happens? She finally gets an and 1-3. She hits another one. Caitlin Clark finally started to find her groove, but you have to give Connecticut credit because it took them some time, them being Iowa, to settle in. 12 turnovers in the first half, just 4 turnovers in the second half. That made the difference for Iowa to get their offense going.
I think the second Clark realized Mule wasn't on her, she was going to pull no matter what because she just couldn't lose her. That was remarkable defense. I was just impressed with Iowa's ability to not get impatient. You know what I'm saying? Like on a night where you're not scoring and you're so used to having it come easily, that I was impressed by that.
Honestly, I'm glad you said that, SVP, because it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I was really hard on Caitlin Clark for her body language in the game against Holy Cross. I thought her body language was bad. I thought she looked like she checked out of the game. I thought she was very focused on herself. And in a game where the pressure is as high as ever today, she could have acted that way. Calls weren't going her way. She's turning the ball over. She's not hitting shots. You didn't see that version of Caitlin Clark. She kept her composure. She kept her head in the game. She kept finding her teammates. She kept hitting Stolke on the rolls to the basket. So when you talk about seeing players that are great, seeing them grow, I know this was a moment of growth for Hannah Stolke. That's what Coach Bluder said. This is a moment of growth for Caitlin Clark, too. We have to remember, as young as she is, she still has room to grow. And I think the maturity she showed in this game, especially when they're down 12, and she wasn't playing very well, wasn't playing up to her standards, I was impressed that she kept her head in it.
It's a rematch, a revenge tour, right, for South Carolina. Well, it was revenge season for Iowa against LSU. They got their chance there. What's your first thought on what should be a tremendous game?
It is going to be an incredible game. I mean, as far as storylines go for America, this is one of the rematches that everyone wanted to see. Iowa took down the giant. They took down undefeated South Carolina just last season. Now South Carolina is going to get a chance to do it again. And questions have been answered. South Carolina, they're able to knock down threes. They've got inside and outside presence. Question tonight for Iowa, who steps up when Caitlin Clark is struggling? We saw that. It was Hannah Stolke. You had Kate Martin making 1-foot fadeaway buckets, playing with confidence. Gabby Marshall misses shots all night long. Then she finally shoots that last one with confidence and knocks it down. One of the biggest keys to this game, though, something that UConn doesn't have, depth in the post. South Carolina has depth in the post for days. They rotate in 6'3", 6'4", athletes on the glass. It's Camila Cardoso with 6'7" on the inside, but if she gets in foul trouble, they have players to back her up. So how Iowa goes up against the depth of South Carolina on the inside, and then how South Carolina guards try to stick with Caitlin Clark the way Connecticut did today, that's going to be the storyline. South Carolina's advantage is on the inside. Iowa's advantage is going to be on the perimeter with Caitlin.
And Iowa flipped the script in the second half tonight. There is no better second half team in America than South Carolina. They showed that again tonight. Andraya Carter, you're a superstar. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We talked about slapping your name on the next line. Wait, there we go. Hannah Stolke earns the right to put Iowa's name on the next line. It'll be the ones running it back against South Carolina. 3 things on this victory for Iowa. It's been a long time coming when it comes to knocking off UConn. They finally get the win against UConn after 6 consecutive losses. That was the longest losing streak against any team in Division I. The last time Iowa beat UConn was in 1990. That was a decade before Lisa Bluder became the head coach. Caitlin Clark, another record to tally. The first player ever to lead the nation in scoring and make the national championship game. Clyde Levelette of KU back in 1952 did it on the men's side. And for UConn, we know that the trophy case is littered with national championships, but this is the longest drought they've had since '95 when they won the first of 11 national titles. They've lost 5 of the last 6 Final Four games. Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, kind enough to join me after you all had just an absolute roll call of the royalty of your sport tonight to talk about this game and give it, look, I get there's objectivity, but given the uniform you all wore, and I'm going to start the same place I just started with Andraya. I don't know how you make that call with 3.9 on a 1-point game. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
I believe I said in different worlds, that's a terrible call. And, you know, we always talk about let the players decide the game, especially a benign call like that, where you really didn't even affect the player. I mean, they still got over the screen. It's just tough to end a game like that. I mean, Sue and I, we played enough games where you want players to decide it, and, you know, we didn't get that tonight, which was disappointing. But, you know, beyond that, that was 2 really, really good teams. And 2 well-coached teams that knew what they wanted to do for 40 minutes. And, you know, sometimes it comes down to players making great plays, and Caitlin just never shies away from that, and it's really impressive.
You all were both superstars, and clearly there were stars on the floor on both sides tonight and in the first game as well. But I felt that what we saw when push came to shove, you saw stars making great plays. I guess that's what made the end so disappointing, is we didn't get to see if Paige could make that shot or not coming off that screen. But I just wonder, Sue, on both sides of it, just your impression of the level of play that both teams demonstrated.
Yeah, I think we all came into this game wanting to see Paige, Caitlin against each other, having big moments. We got a couple of them. For the most part, it was the other players on the team, and I think that's where the game really favored Iowa. Iowa is a team that has been in these moments throughout the course of this season, last season even. They're used to big crowds. They're used to close games. They're used to, you know, that moment having to fill in where Caitlin maybe doesn't show up the few times she doesn't. And I think that's what we saw. We saw it in Kate Martin. We saw it in Gabby Marshall. That was the difference.
100 years ago, when I still kind of had hair, I came to cover you all in a game in Knoxville back when you were doing your thing in college. And you all are royalty in the sport. I just wonder, Sue and Diana, how you all have consumed the consumption of women's college basketball this year. It feels like it's just been, I just keep using the word joyride, and it's not just one school. right? It's like it feels like everybody's in on this party. And as people that have had such a significant role in it becoming what it is, I just wonder how you all have consumed it.
I mean, it's amazing to be a part of it. Now on the other side of it, and we went through it with Final Fours and winning championships, but to see women's basketball on this stage and the popularity and just the eyeballs on it, it's truly, I think, the next level of what we're trying to get to in women's sports. And we talk about it a lot. Can this carry over to when they're pros, when they're at the peak of their game, playing against the best competition in the world? But the storylines are amazing. The superstars have just been out of this world, showing up at every moment over and over, and it's been truly remarkable to see.
No, I was going to say, for me, the word that comes to mind is validating. I think for us in our careers, we've seen it. We've seen these Final Four games. We've seen the superstars. And now in a lot of ways, people have caught on, and it just feels really validating.
I think about it from the, you just mentioned, Diana, like in the league, because there's some stars going to the WNBA. I know on the NBA side, like those guys, those vets are just like, all right, come get it, young fella, right? When the college guys come out, they're waiting for them. I mean, Camilla's coming, Caitlin's coming. There's more than just that are coming. What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
You know, there's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where, you know, you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie, and you know, it might take a little bit longer for some people.
Right on. That's perfectly said. But that's the honesty of what it is. I mean, this is a profession. We got to eat. You're not trying to take food off my table. I look forward to seeing their transition to the next level, but I look forward to seeing this championship game first. Sue, Diana, I appreciate you always. Thank you for being kind enough to join me.
SVP.
Thank you.
In the place to be.
Appreciate you. This was Caitlin Clark's 10th career NCAA tournament game with 25-5. No other player since 2000 has more than 15 of Clark's 21 Friday came in the second half to power Iowa into the title game.